Welcome to what is hopefully the most straightforward and honest Clawdbot / Moltbot setup tutorial on the internet. Let's just jump right into it. Why set up Clawdbot and is it worth it? Clawdbot, Moltbot, it changed names midway through. It's super hyped right now, particularly in the tech circle on Twitter. It is semi-difficult to set up. I would say it's probably about a 6 out of 10. In this video though, I'll show you everything you need to do to get it up and running. It should only take you about 15 to 30 minutes. You might hit some snags here and there. It's not overly difficult, but it's not extremely straightforward and simple like installing an app. So is it worth it? And I would say yes. And the reason is just in case. See, a lot of people think that Clawdbot is kind of this app store moment for AI and this whole economy is going to spin off of this. So essentially you're just playing on the forefront of AI. And by playing in that space, you'll see opportunities and ways to use it that others won't. So if it does become that app store moment for AI, you will be way ahead of the curve. So I do think, spending 30 minutes getting set up and a few days playing with it is likely worth it. Now, I probably should have gone into what is Clawdbot and Moltbot. What they say is the AI that actually does things. I think the easiest way to think of Clawdbot is imagine someone that's sitting at your computer or at whatever computer you set it up on. They can click on things, they can go to websites, they can access the programs on there, they can send emails. So anything you give it access to, it can do the same way a human would do, which is pretty cool, but it's also very important to kind of be safe about that. There are tons of strong opinions and tutorials about where to install Clawdbot. I watched way too many of them. I would recommend just skipping them so you can just go in there and get it started. But I do think it's important that you kind of understand the spectrum. So I made this cool little diagram here. The first place you can set it up is right on your main computer. And I would say don't do that. Because as I said, you think of Clawdbot as essentially a person that sits down at your computer and has access to everything. And maybe the AI gets the idea to sext your mom or to like steal your tax information or something. I doubt it'll do that, but don't put it on your computer, particularly if you're not extremely technical and set up the correct guardrails. Just don't do it. The next option that is pretty hyped right now is buying Mac Minis. Like Mac Minis are sold out. And that's kind of cool because it does give Clawdbot its own computer that sits there physically on your desk. There's some cost savings to you running it physically on your desk. You can run like some local models. You don't have a monthly fee, etc. But I would say that that's probably overkill if you're just getting started. I might do that in the future, but what I'm going to do is use this option, a VPS, which I think is a sweet spot. And if I'm still using Clawdbot in a few months and it is valuable to me, maybe I'll look into a Mac Mini that's about $600. This VPS is about, you can go as low as $5 a month. The bigger cloud version is like $20 to $30 a month. Also, link in the description. You'll get $200 in free credits when we set it up with DigitalOcean. That's who we're going to use, and we'll get into that next. But first, on the other end of the spectrum are a lot of people set up startups to like launch Clawdbot in 60 seconds. And I think that those are mainly just wrappers of these larger virtual private servers. And so they have added costs. Also, they're newer, they're untested. So there's perhaps some security vulnerability. So I just went with the larger names, the DigitalOcean, the Hostinger, the AWS, whatever it is. There's probably slightly more complicated than this side of the spectrum, but they're not too bad. And we're going to walk through it all in this video. Okay, so you're probably wondering what is a VPS, and this is how to install Clawdbot on a VPS. Think of a VPS as a cloud, and there's a computer in that cloud, and then you can use your home computer. So this is you at home, and you are using your computer to essentially control a computer that lives on a server somewhere far away. You will do the setup process through something called the terminal. That can be a little intimidating for people who aren't tech savvy, but don't worry, you don't have to do too much inside of the terminal. The terminal is kind of like the remote where this computer talks to this computer, and we will get Clawdbot all set up and running. It's not too difficult. You run a few commands, and one of the commands that you do is you make it so it actually runs on Telegram Clawdbot. So once you get it set up, you'll be interacting with Clawdbot through Telegram. Go to the link in the description where you'll get $200 in free credits. Click on Create Openclaw Droplet. The first choice you have to make is which region to put your droplet in. The general rule of thumb here is to select a region that's close to where you live. This channel is all about trading and using AI tools to help you trade. This particular video is just about getting Clawdbot set up for any use case. But if you are thinking about trading, you might want to think about geo-blocking location. So for instance, if you're setting up Clawdbot to say make a polymarket bot, you'll want to put it in Amsterdam. Just kind of Google wherever the servers of your perpdex or prediction market are and pick a server that is close to that location. Latency doesn't matter all that much, but you might as well have it close to the trading platform, or you might as well have it close to where you live and are using it. So pick whichever one you want. Then from there, you can use shared CPU. You can go low and probably go like $12 a month here. But if you want to go premium, you can go kind of like the $32 a month, $24 a month, and you should be just fine. I'll probably go with the $24 to $32 a month, mainly because I'm running a lot of other things on this Clawdbot. So the last thing I want is a bug in kind of my hosting capacity. So it's worth the peace of mind there. Then you need to find a way to SSH in. So you can create, if you don't already have a SSH key, you can create an SSH key. This will require you to open a terminal window. So let's see, let me get a new one. And all you would do is copy this command. This walks you through it right there. And you just paste it in here. And then what will happen is this will generate a public-private key pair. And it will actually generate 2 files on your computer. And then essentially you make a passphrase for that as well. This is something that you make up. It will ask you to enter one. So the same way you just create a passphrase for an email. And then you can copy and paste the contents of your public key into here. So you give them your public key, not your private key. So think of the public key as like the lock on the door. Your private key is the key that goes into it. Then you name it and you press start. I'm not going to do that on camera because I don't want to show any sensitive information. There's plenty of information out there on Google as well. Then outside of that, you can add any tags if you want. You add it to a project and then you just hit create droplet. And once you hit create droplet, you are basically ready to go. Once the droplet's set up, as mentioned, you can SSH into it, as in use your terminal on your computer as a remote. But the other cool thing about using DigitalOcean is you can just go to their website, hit console, and a console window comes up. And you can just connect to your droplet and start setting up Openclaw right within that console window. If you do want to SSH in, a program I really like is called Termius. You can essentially set up new keys. So if you wanted to set up a new key, you go like that, and then you just paste in the private key, the public key, or you can even drag those files that your terminal created. It will tell you where they are in your Finder. You drag them in, and then you can name it and save it. So then you have this host saved. You don't always have to remember how to SSH in, and you can just like click it. Essentially just connects for you. SSH'd into my droplet. I could have also just hit console right here, but I am SSH'd in via Termius, and since we use the Clawdbot setup on DigitalOcean, it is already running. The moment you're SSH'd in, it's going to ask you what AI provider you want to connect, because Openclaw itself, or Clawdbot, needs a brain. So the brain can be ChatGPT, it can be Anthropic, any AI model. And for that reason, there are different AI models you're going to want to use for certain things, and there are cost-saving advantages with some. And for that reason right now, I'm going to choose OpenRouter, because what OpenRouter does is essentially one API endpoint that then allows you to switch between a bunch of models. So I choose 4, but you can choose anything you want. But the reason I'm using OpenRouter is because I'm not only going to use Anthropic models, I'm going to use a few models that are going to save me a lot of money in API calls and credit costs, and we'll get more to that at the end. So for now, you just go to OpenRouter, chose that. Now you need to paste an OpenRouter API key into here. So to do that, go to OpenRouter. So here's the cool thing about OpenRouter too. When you're at OpenRouter, it tells you all of these various models that you could use. You can type them in, and it gives you the little commands to set them up as such. So essentially what you need to do is you need to go into here, you go into credits, you buy some credits, then you go into settings, and you create an API key. And it's as simple as hitting create, and then you can name it if you want, like Clawdbot, and you can also give it a credit limit. So let's say you don't want it to spend more than $20 a day, or a month or a week or whatever it is, you can do that. You create the API key, then you just hit create, you copy it, and you paste it right into here. Now it's asking you to pair with the dashboard. You can type yes or no. Honestly, you don't have to do this. If you type yes, what you have to do is you go up to the dashboard URL, you copy it, and you paste it into your browser. Then essentially what you need to do is you need to go into this overview section. You need to make sure that the WebSocket URL is the same one that you pasted in. Then you'll have a gateway token, which you'll find right here. You put that in, you press connect, then it will give you some sort of kind of like error message almost, but then you go back into here and you can press continue and then it will pair. What this is it's kind of an interface. So now I can begin chatting with my Clawdbot with starting a new session. I put in the status and it says like, hey, I'm running on OpenRouter GPT 4.0 mini. Within here is kind of, you can add like skills and agents and configuration files and all this stuff. This is basically a UI so that you don't have to use terminal as much. But it's actually, in my opinion, even if you're not a technical type, easier. You just type in Openclaw config and you get all of these same options here. So you say local this machine, even if you're doing the VPS. Then here you can set up workspaces. You can change the AI model you're using. You can set up web tools. This is one with Brave so that your bot can search the web. Then here is where you add skills, which we will do in a later video. And that's really what brings your Clawdbot to life. But I just wanted to get you up and running. So let's first just look at skills. Configure skills now. Yes, no. Let's just say yes for now. And you go through and you pick all of these skills. But in general, you can use the UI to set up skills, but it's a little clunkier in my opinion than just using the terminal, typing in Openclaw config, go to your local machine, pick the skills. And in this channel, what we're going to do is we're going to set this up to help you trade. But for now, the only thing we want to do is we want to link it to another channel so that you don't have to worry about talking to it from the terminal or from the UI. You just go to channels, config link, and then here you can set up all sorts of stuff. You can talk with it in Slack and Google and Telegram and WhatsApp. I'm going to set it up through Telegram. And now you need to do one more step, which is get a bot token from Telegram, and you do that step inside of Telegram. Or inside of Telegram, you want to search a new chat, type in BotFather, find him, then you just put new bot. What should we call it? I'm going to call mine Clawbot. Okay, so this is the token that we need. Back into the terminal, you paste it. It says configured. Ask you to configure DM access policies now. Make sure you have yes selected. Okay, so we are officially paired, and as it goes, at the last stretch, I had hiccup. What basically happened was I was setting some of the API keys in the root user. So be sure that you actually are in the Openclaw user. You have to move up a folder on your droplet and set the API keys there. So yeah, if you're running into issues and getting a pairing key, make sure that you're setting up Telegram as the Openclaw user, not the root user, because then the system wasn't really seeing the API key and the Telegram bot was online, but it couldn't create a session, which is why the pairing message never came through to me. Honestly, I wasn't even entirely sure what was happening. So what I had to do was just go through debug hell of copy and pasting from my terminal into ChatGPT and then back into the terminal that was hoping to get Clawdbot running. So really using one AI to debug another AI, which proves we are in the future. It is awesome. It is not always easy. Sometimes it is time consuming and tedious, but we are now set up. I am talking to BingaBot. Hey, dude. Inside of Telegram. The next thing I would do is I would fill him in on details about what I am trying to achieve, what I need him for. So I will do that offline because the next video will probably go over installing skills, because that's ultimately why I made this video, so that we could start installing and even building skills that will help us trade better and vibe trade and code and have fun. And thank you for watching.